I will go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Tarvik. I am a librarian at the NGH Institute of Health Professions, which, if you haven't heard of us, that's fine. We're a graduate health sciences school in Boston. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you how we use Koha not just as our ILS and our OPAC, but we also use it as our library website. So, quick disclaimer. We're still on Koha 3.14, because part of being a small library is that sometimes if that's too old for you and you feel like you've lost interest, you want to go to the other presentation, I totally understand. But I do think that everything that I'm going to talk about today can still be done in more person. There just might be quick differences in like how you do them or CSS selectors and things like that. And my goal for today is really, I hope that by sharing my experience with you, it'll give you some ideas for your own library websites, especially if you're also coming from a smaller library. Is anyone already using Koha as their library website? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, so maybe at the end you can kind of compare notes and something like that. And for the rest of you, maybe it'll get you to consider moving from whatever your current CMS is to Koha. So why did our library want to use Koha as a website? I think it comes down to who we are. So like I said, we're a very small library. Up until about 2 weeks ago, we actually only had 2 staff, so myself and my director. And we just hired a full-time library assistant about 2 weeks ago, so we're up to now. But when you're that small, there's certain limitations. So there's staff time limitations, we have a very tiny budget, and there's definitely a knowledge limitation. So I am technically a reference instruction librarian, but because I have like intermediate experience with web design, most of the web services stuff falls to me. I am by no means a professional web developer. In fact, I've probably done some things that would embarrass like a real web developer. So in that case, because the knowledge isn't that great, the time isn't there, the money isn't there, when it came to CMS, you really needed something that was low maintenance and flexible. And additionally, our IT department is very generous with us. They installed Koha for us, and we thought it would be nice if we didn't give them an additional like open source CMS to install on top of Koha that they've already done for us. And they handle our space for us. So they have to prioritize things, and there's only so much time that they can dedicate to us as well. On top of that, we actually partner with the hospital library at Massachusetts General Hospital. They basically pay for all of our electronic resources, so our e-journals and our e-books. They have their own website, but it's definitely geared more towards people that work at the hospital. And so our goal was to create a website that is designed specifically for our students, and so that we could have our own web presence with our own branding. Up until 2 years ago, we actually didn't even have a physical library space. That's how small we were. We had our offices where students could come to us for help, but that's not really. So our website was very much our primary access point for our students. So we didn't want to be just good at math. We wanted it to be awesome. So prior to 2014, which is when we adopted Koha, our website lived inside of our learning management system. We use Desire to Learn, if anybody knows of Desire to Learn. Solution. Everything had to be hand-coded. I couldn't dynamically link to the jQuery library, so I actually had to copy and paste the entire jQuery library into this weird HTML editor to get a jQuery elements. Sometimes it didn't always display properly depending on the browser. So using it was kind of a nightmare as far as building the website goes. And additionally, it was being inside the LMS, it wasn't public facing. So really only our students and faculty could access it. If we wanted to share information about our library with anyone outside of the school, that was really difficult. So we wanted a public-facing website in addition to that. So why did we end up choosing Koha? We really liked that it was built on Bootstrap, so the layout was responsive. We liked that you could easily modify it with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And kind of the most important thing was that we could create additional pages using the tiny CMS so that we could have a real functioning website. And then, of course, it being open source, and then the course reserves module and the self-checkout module. We liked that once we modified Koha to look like our website, that the course reserves module and the self-checkout module would match the main page visually. And so those last three were also reasons why we chose Koha as our iOS, among other things. So once we decided to go ahead and try this with Koha, we defined our design philosophy that would guide all our decision making for what we wanted the website to look like. We very much subscribe to the whole user experience movement or philosophy, or whatever you want to call it. If you aren't familiar with user experience, it's basically the idea that your website should be valuable to your users. And you create value by making your website useful, desirable, accessible, credible, findable, and useful. So it's not just that your users go to your website because they have to, they go to your website because they want to. And there are tons of techniques and tools and methods out there to help you do user research and user testing that help you figure out what it is that your users really need and how to provide that for them. And so all the decisions that we made, we tried to make it with our students' needs, the primary thing in mind. Additionally, even though I think only about 3% of our users are ever coming to the website on mobile, we wanted to make sure that whoever was coming on mobile was also having a good experience. So anything that we did, we made sure that it was going to work on mobile. So a really good example is when we implemented SEO Discovery, the search box that you see there actually and I couldn't sleep at night until I fixed that. And I finally did, and it looks really nice now, so I'm happy about that. We also decided to design iteratively. So we set a target date of fall 2014 for the website to launch. And if it wasn't perfect at that point, no big deal, because we knew we were going to be making changes as we went along, as we got new things. So we didn't actually have SEO Discovery on the website. One of the left was our very first service. We had to change some things around, and we got SEO Discovery. That's kind of a major change, but certainly smaller changes are just made as we need to. And then we made a conscious decision to make sure that our website complemented the main school website, again, to create more of a seamless experience for our students. So I like a clean and minimalist design, so certainly that's also an influence. But we also make sure that our color is coordinated. And then this is a screenshot of the school website now. And this is not the website when we first designed ours. And so it just kind of worked out that it matches our website even better, which made my life so much easier. Okay. So how did we actually turn an iOS into a complete website? There were three major steps. First, we had to modify Koha's user interface to create a template that would carry over through all the pages. We had to make those additional pages using the local use system preference, also known as the tiny CMS. And then lastly, to make sure that we had all the features that we needed and it was really a full service library website, we just added on things like widgets to add all the external products that we use. So these steps and good examples. So I'm going to have a screenshot of this as well. But if you haven't ever modified your OPAC or Koha, Koha Administration Global Preferences, the OPAC tab, there are various fields where you can add things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to modify how your user interface looks. And so those are the various fields that I have used over the years. What the OPAC preferences tab looks like. Again, you get steps by going to administration, system preferences. And here's a screenshot of a default profile screen, which is the one that I had to work with. You can see where each of the fields in the OPAC tab corresponds to a particular area on the template. So OPAC header is that top region there. OPAC nav will change your top left. OPAC nav bottom is another section underneath the top OPAC nav. Everything on the outside edge will carry over onto any additional pages that you make. And the only thing that is specific to your home is the user block. And then that's the changes and the additional pages that you make. And then the OPAC user JS field is where you put any JavaScript, and OPAC user CSS is where you put any CSS to modify the CSS, and those correspond to the whole page as well as all your additional pages. that Firebug. If you're not familiar with that, it's a really great Firefox extension that lets you see the source code and match like which CSS selector matches what thing. And you can actually see that it's just changed. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some specific design decisions that we made and how we did them. I don't have the complete code on here because you wouldn't be able to see it, it would be so small, but if there's any code that you see that you want to see all of it, I'm happy to share it with you. Just shoot me an email or let me know. Koha search box is not at the top. So where did it go? Why did we anticipated that our students would see that search box, and remember we didn't have SQL discovery when we first launched that search box, and they would use it to search for articles. And we don't have articles in our Koha in our OPAC. We only have our very small physical collection in our course reserve. So knowing that they would do that, and we didn't want them to search Koha and not find articles and think that we didn't have them, decided to get rid of that search box. They can get to it on other pages. Our physical collection is very specialized. It's a community health collection, and it's really only used by 2 courses. And then we have our small course reserve, so it would be easier for us to direct those courses to the catalog on the community and to help and to direct people to the catalog on the course reserve page than to constantly be answering questions about why are my articles not showing up in the search box. And that decision was somewhat validated also because we also had a site search on the very first version up in the top right corner. And it said site search right on it, and students were still using that to search for articles. So we got rid of that as well. And the website is small enough that I don't think it's like a hardship to have it. How did we get rid of it? There's a really simple JavaScript that you can either put it in the OPAC user JS box if you want it to not show up on any part of your site, or you put it just in the OPAC main user box for the home page, and then any of those extra pages that we made, we put it in the content area for that as well. So on the community health page and the course resource page, the script is not there because we do want the search box to show up. And then you'll notice we also don't have the login box here or the login. That was a similar situation. Our students have what's called a partner's login, and that's what they use to get to their email. It works for the electronic, the e-journals, the e-books, but due to various security issues, we were not allowed to use that for their Koha account. So they have an additional Koha account that's made for them when they get there, but because circulation is not terribly high, and they can do everything they need to do in the self-checkout screen, we don't really have them log into their account unless they really need to. And if they really, really need to, they can get send them a login screen. But we felt, again, just to reduce confusion, that it might be better to just not have it on. So to do that, easy. So in OPAC user CSS, you tell navbar in, and then I had to change a couple of background colors. In OPAC header box, the images that you see in the top header. Oh, right here. Thank you. We needed to make a navigation menu for all the different pages that we created, and that's also really simple because there is a box dedicated for that. So in the OPAC nav box, you can create an unordered list of links, and then in OPAC user CSS, you can what the OPAC nav looks like. And I think you can get complicated. We just have one level of navigation, but certainly you could add additional levels if you needed. Okay. So notice that problem, and actually just this using the built-in bootstrap. That allows you to make columns using expands. show you kind of what that looks like. The whole explanation of this is definitely on the Bootstrap website. I'll try to explain it as best as I can. But basically, you create a row, and then you find that row up to the bottom left, and that's the cell. And the left, and one of the rows, right? This is inline CSS. I think I was just being kind of lazy, to be honest with you. But you can think of your CSS in an OPAC CSS and then add the content. And then you see right, two boxes instead of one on top of each other. The span to create the width. And the reason I did this is because in mobile, they fold under each other really nicely. So I love that it's on Bootstrap. And then the default koha footer is, it's pretty empty. It just has the part of the I made this before I really understood the koha and how it works. So I actually did this with just CSS. Basically, you create 3 divs for each of those columns, or how many other columns you want, and you tell them to float left. So your content in each div, and then after all the columns, you add a div that says footer here. And then on one of our additional pages, we do have jQuery tabs. These were used them a lot in the very first version of the website. This is the only page left with tabs. I haven't really found a reason to change this page yet, so jQuery, I believe the jQuery is also built into Koha, so all you have to do is put a little bit of JavaScript into the share that whole code if you want to see what it looks like. But this is also all on the jQuery UI website, has all the documentation for this, and I really just copied and pasted it. Those are just examples of specific design decisions and changes that were pretty easy to do in Koha. We also needed to make those additional pages, and that's the tiny CMS. And that's done in global preferences under the local use tab. I believe that there is something on the back end that you have to set up to make this work. Again, I did not personally do that. That was thanks to our IT department. And again, I think you can do it with newer versions of Koha too. Having questions about that, I'll be happy to ask my IT guy and let you know what the answers are, but I can't personally set this up. Other than once it's done, I just how to make pages. So, preference, and this is a screenshot of all of our pages that we do have. And when you click to add an event, you pull up this box. The explanation field is the variable is an identifier for what you call it, but area, and that's just like opaque main user block. You can put CSS and JavaScript all in that box. And then when you want to edit them, you just go back into And then those additional features I talked about. So we have products with guides, with Cal. We use Twitter for our news. We use ForumStack for sort of a help desk system. We have a reference chat, and we have set up Google Analytics and our heat maps software. So we did all that by just doing some of the JavaScript things. I'll show you those. On our research guides page, this list, so the box and the font thing were done with us with HTML and CSS, but the list is dynamically created from the LibGuides API, and so we just paste in some code and it updates this and it updates it as we add guides or delete them. Twitter is Twitter with form facts, so this is our actual library form. Again, just another snippet of code that you post on this particular page, the Ask Librarian page. There's a box above it that you can use HTML and CSS, and then a little bit of code underneath it. Our chat widget is JavaScript in the OPEC user JS so that it shows up on every single page of our website. Plus, it actually shows up in our research guides on our research guides as well because we have code in with guides also. And we get that through a service called Lucky Orange. And Lucky Orange also comes with different various analytic things like heat maps. So here's an example of a heat map of our homepage. You can see that our students are absolutely using EBSCO discovery more than anything else, which makes sense. I mean, it's a graduate health sciences program, so they're mostly looking for scholarly articles over anything else. So kind of big list really big nursing program. So what this tells me is that putting these things on the homepage and right in the center was definitely the right decision. We're code for our chat widget, and really interesting. Like for us, it's only $5 a month. We're a small library, and it has some other things like it does videos of when your users look and see if they're having problems. It's kind of invasive, I guess, but it's also really helpful. And then, of course, you can actually set up Google Analytics. It's so easy to do. There's actually an additional Google product called Tag Manager that you can use. And what's nice about Tag Manager is your Google Analytics account plus any other accounts for various tools, including Lucky Orange, puts it all into one code. So this code right here from Google Tag Manager has Google Analytics stuff, it has Lucky Orange stuff, and it's just one code that we use in OPAC.js, and it tracks all the stuff that we need. Really great for campaigns. So if we do an email, we want to know how many people clicked on the link in email. I figure most of it. So the website is never really finished, is it? About 2 years ago, I want to say, we decided to look into our information architecture or the organization of the site to see if it was really the best it could be. The original information architecture was just carried over from the old site. The old site had, even though it didn't look great, it had done well enough in usability tests that we didn't really change it that much. But we felt it was definitely worth investigating. So we did work called card sorts. So in card sort, we got one person or group of people, we have them sit down with index cards, and on those index cards are the content of your website. And you tell them where would you expect to find things together? How would you group these things? What groupings make sense? From that, you gather data that will tell you the best way to organize your website. We did it, we kind of do it with an online service that get more results. We actually decided to do it in person with students, which was really valuable for us because in addition to the quantitative data from the card sorts, we actually really do qualitative data from the, which is like so enlightening the way that they think about library websites. So when it was all over, we ran the results of the card sort through R, which is an open source statistics program, and it's called a dendrogram, and basically it shows you the content on whatever it was, how often it's grouped together with other things. And so it sections you want in the outline them for you. So it's too surprising, but what we learned is that robust, that there's more findable, things make more sense, and basically we're going to need to create some more layers to our cut off on the slide. You want more information on how to or other you can get a link there to go. And then the next step after to kind of plan a navigation and see if that would work as well. So we did what's called a tree test, and you can use a tree test to either validate your current results or if you just want to test how your navigation is doing. And it was a usability test. You tell a people you ask them where would they go on the website, but all they have is a navigation. They don't have no other elements on the website that might get in the way or just the navigation. What you do is you track are they taking the route that I think they would take, or is there something going on and they're not getting to where they need to be? And actually, the most helpful thing was that, well, or like the reminder that library terminology is not person terminology. So the term course reserves is almost meaningless to our students. Like they just don't connect that means that's where their textbooks are. So we're trying to think of better ways to get that across to them. An example of what we did in Google Forms. Again, there's like online services that will do this for you. You can do it in person with index cards on the table. But what we did in Google Forms is basically the navigation of our site using the logic built into Google Forms. So from the course materials, to a page that has shows you in nice paragraphs what people clicked on most often, how easy or difficult they thought it was. You're setting this out. And we got really like 70% to get people to respond, but even we were even surprised that we got a lot of short amount of time without the library and ask them. Learn all the tools, the way that we did it. Copy a Google form as a template if you want to kind of play around with it and see how we built the navigation into Google Forms. So we have some work to do on our information architecture and our navigation. We also have some other things going on. So our collection has definitely grown since we first built the website, and we have things other than that community health collection and the course reserves. So do you put OPAC search back on the homepage somehow so that people can find these things without confusing people? Also, I know it's possible to integrate your koha catalog with EBSCO Discovery. So for us, that would not be a small thing because EBSCO Discovery is owned by the hospital library, and so we would have to collaborate with them to make that happen. So that would be kind of a good thing to take on. And then I personally feel like it's getting time to update our koha, so that would also be sort of a big undertaking, or at least would require stuff as well. All of this has kind of been put on hold because a couple months ago, the website team for the main school website asked us if we wanted to come back on their website and do things. If we do, koha would go back to being an iOS only. Our students would get a more seamless experience across the school's web presence, but I do know that we would be giving up control in the way things look and the way things work. So there's some pros and cons there. We haven't come to a decision yet. We're kind of waiting on that team to put together new templates because the ones they have now, also library website. I told them, I was like, if you can't make this work for us, it's not going to happen. So they actually are. And at that point, we'll be able to decide. That's all the slides I have. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay. Like I said, if you want to see any more of that code in detail, just let me know. I'm happy to share it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, not a limit that would affect like a library website. I don't think library, but of course, really big libraries can afford it. Like, and yeah, all that. So I use Notepad++ to include it, and then I would just use the boxes. And what's nice is, so when you're working on those fields in the OPAC tab, if you hit save, you can refresh your page and see what it looks like. So if you keep the other page open, if you don't like it, you can control Z to undo what you did, and then again and go back to the way you had it before. But also that Firebase thing, Firebase is really, really helpful too. Yeah. Cool. Start at the beginning. I don't know.